Hello, welcome back to Uncle Buck's Garage. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between the Generation 1 small block Chevy and the LS motors. Now, I saw a thing online earlier this week that somebody had posted a video of why would you ever spend the money on a old small block Chevy when you can just buy an LS motor that already has aluminum heads on it. Well, this one, it kind of made me start thinking. And I was like, no, wait a minute. An LS1 is going to be a lot more expensive to build than a small block Chevy. And you can still buy aluminum heads and still be way under the amount you're going to spend if you're actually going to put an LS1 in a car. It isn't as simple as going and buying a $700 core and plopping it in a motor and then you're done. It's just not that simple. It just doesn't work that way. First thing I'll say about that, doing the LS swap and anything, is you have to go motor mounts, transmission mounts, you got to get brackets, you got to get all kinds. There's a whole plethora of things that you have to do to get that LS to actually just literally fit. You're going to have a lot of expense just alone in the bracketry, just getting an LS motor in the frame that you're putting it in. Whatever car you're trying to retro that into, you're going to spend money on brackets and mounts and all of that. Where if you're replacing a small block Chevy where a small block Chevy was, you ain't got none of that expense. It all just bolts up. You just got to clean it and paint and bolt it up, and it works perfectly. So that's the first thing, is that there's a lot more to it than just buying a crate motor and then you're done. While you're here and you're watching, if you're here, like, share, and subscribe. Smash that like button, help the channel out. Okay, first thing is going to be the core. A Gen 1 core is going to be $300 to $400. All right, that's the first thing. That's the core. Core on the LS is going to be $700 to $1,200. That's if, depending on where you live, where it's at, and what type of LS motor you're going for. If you're going for a 6-liter or above, you're going to pay for it. Okay, so core $300 to $400 as opposed to $700 to $1,200. That's the first thing. The second one, once you get the core, it's going to be machining or parts. So on a 350 core, I'm probably not going to do any kind of serious horsepower because we're looking for 400 plus from a Gen 1 or an LS. All right, well, which is pretty easy on an LS. But on Gen 1, you're going to spend some money. So we're going to discuss the differences. Okay, so the first thing is machine work. To completely machine a 350 core that is machinable and usable, you're going to spend between $600 to $800. Okay, so on an LS, if you're just getting a junkyard one with, say, 200,000+ miles on it, and you pop the heads off of it and the inside, the crosshatch is still there because they build them to be loose so that they don't beat up on their blocks anyways. So if you might not have to do any machine work on this, besides maybe if you wanted to vat it, if you got the tools, cam bearings, fuse plugs, all that. So we'll say maybe $200. That's a good cleaning and a machine shop. $300. We'll give it $200 for a machine shop. Okay. Now, heads. That's going to be your major expense to get 400 horsepower with a small block Chevy, a Gen 1 small block Chevy. Heads are going to cost you $1,200 to $1,400. New. You can get a set of trick flows for about $1,200. $650, $675 a piece. And that comes with springs, new valves, everything. Ain't got to spend no money on valve job, everything. So you're cutting some of your costs from machine work by not having your heads done if you're replacing the heads with new ones. An LS, if you're really going to want to do a valve job on it, and you're going to have to replace springs, you're going to have to do work on them. So you're still talking another at least $400 of extra work on the heads, okay, to make sure they're right. Because aluminum, hot and cold, you're going to have to get them milled, and you're going to have to get them batted and get a little bit of valve job on them, okay? Next thing is the rebuild kit. The rebuild kit for a small block Chevy, you can order them from Summit. That's rings and bearings and gaskets and the whole schmear, including oil pump. You can just do a ring rebearing kit for about $400 with a really good. I prefer the blue stripe everything, the high end kit, which is about $100 for all the gasket set. Gasket set for the LS, same thing, $400. You're not re-ringing it because you're not taking the bottom end apart. You are going to spend money on some various little bits and pieces in there, but we'll just on that. Okay, now the one thing you're not going to have on the Generation 1 that you're going to have on the LS is all the sensors. Block, top end, air fuel ratio, all those sensors. I looked them up. If you went bargain basement, if you shopped around and got as cheap as you could for all the sensors you're going to spend to put on that motor, it's going to be $450, $500. Top end, $650, $700. So I'm going to give you in between. We're going to call it $650. And that's going to be for all the sensors. All right. What are you going to need for the small block Chevy? Set of gauges. I just bought a set of gauges, which they'll be coming up on another episode. I'm going to mount a 3-piece gauge, volt, temperature, oil pressure. $100. $100 for gauges. All right. The other thing is that to wire all this into your old Chevy, if you buy a gauge set, which we'll just do this extra, we'll just say we'll just do a little extras. We're going to say a gauge set, like an electronic gauge set to hook up with the system you're going to use. That's going to be about $800. We'll just call that extras, $800. We'll do extras over here. Okay. So you got to monitor everything. So you got $100 for gauges here, and you got $650 worth of sensors here. Fuel system. You can build a fuel system if you're going to buy a brand new tank and a new sending unit and a fuel pump. The whole system, say $15, $25 for a fuel pump. A new gas tank is about $90 through LMC, like for a pickup truck, and the sending unit is about $45. So fuel system, the complete fuel system, to run a 400 horsepower small block Chevy is going to be about $200. Where the fuel system you're going to need to retro that into an older car, Holly sells one. I'll give you about the cheapest one I can find. Holly sells a fuel system for $650. Dropped on your door. That's the fuel pump in the tank. The fuel pump in the tank. Just the fuel pump in the tank, okay? Okay, and on top of this, so we got core costs, we got machine costs, we got headwork costs, we got rebuild kit costs, we got sensors, and we have on this is the fuel system. This is fuel. All right. So we got that all kind of stuff. How are we going to run that LS motor? On the small block Chevy, we're talking about a distributor, wires, cap, the whole 9 yards. I mean, you can buy a brand new system, $250. That's AC Delco. Brand new, like from the factory. Run forever. Never have to mess with it the whole time. You probably just tinkering around town. You never have to mess with it. All right. What do you got to do for the Holly? I mean, what do you got to do for the LS? You got to buy a Holly standalone harness. Unless you want to spend 10 hours of your life trying to go through and taking all them wires off and separating one out. You can do that. You can get one of those harnesses and you can do all that and take half your life to do that. Or like most people are doing these days, they're buying the Holly sniper system, whatever the system it is, wiring harness. And that's a big one. 1,200, and it depends on where you're putting it. See, 1,200 to 1,400, depending on the options. You're spending $250 for ignition on a small block Chevy. Headers. Okay, got to have an exhaust system. You got to get rid of it. Headers. If you've seen one of my other videos, you can check that one out. I did a set of headers, $175. Forgive my penmanship. That's headers, $175. Headers for an LS, for a retro, $350. Cooling system. Cooling system. You're going to have to have a special just for an LS motor kind of crossover. There's some extras. There's some things you can't just go to O'Reilly's and buy a aluminum replacement radiator for a retro LS. I can do that for my truck, for my 78 C10. I can buy $200 for a radiator. $200 for a radiator. Standalone, because see, I can use on that radiator, I can use fan shroud that's coming out of this truck. I can use the fan out of that truck. All the pulley system, everything is there. Another thing, all the accessories, your starter, your alternator, your brackets, your belts, your everything, all that stuff that you have to do. Cooling system. So we'll say $200 for the radiator. It's $600 for a radiator. Set up with a dual fan in the wiring system for an LS motor. And I'm sure there's ways you can get around this if you really, really hunt, you really, really kind of shop around. I'm sure there's some money you can shave off of this. Engine mounts, brackets, alternator, starter, oil pan, all this stuff. All that stuff. That's going to be a good solid $600 because just a set of brackets, just a set of motor mounts is $200. It's a good solid adjustable set where you can set that motor where you need to. You know, you can cheap out that don't fit good, but you can do that. But and all the stuff, the oil pan, the everything, $600. Where if you wanted to buy new, like polyurethane bushings and things like that for all the mounts on your, we're talking about $200. And that's mounts and brackets. Mounts and brackets. It's kind of adding up, isn't it, guys? Okay. So that's the meatiness of it. So for a 400 plus horsepower naturally aspirated engine, and we'll talk about, I'm going to give you one. I'm going to say a new intake and carburetor, brand new intake and carburetor for the small block is $650. $200 for the intake, $450 for the carb. Okay, I'll give you that one. So, well, let's just add it up. So we'll go high end. We'll go high end on this. We'll go 400 to 800. There's 12. There's 26. There's 28. There's 31. There's 34. 37. 39. 40. 44, 50. 44, 50. Okay. That's completely built. That's completely stem to stern. Everything brand new. Nothing reused. Now, I'm not doing that on my builds because I have a lot of stuff that I'm reusing, but you can shave money off of that. You can shave money here. You can shave money there. You can go to swap meets. You can get stuff. This, on the other hand, you can't kind of mess around with that. You kind of stuck paying what they got done for. So we'll go high end just to be fair, okay? And we'll even forget the extras. All right, we'll just forget the extras. 1200. 14, 18, 22, that's 13, so that's 35. 47, there's another 1,000, that's 57, and 6, that's 6650-ish for 400 plus horsepower. HP. 400 plus HP. I can do a lot of things with $2,000. You know, we're not counting the extras. We're not counting all the time and effort that you have to do to modify everything to get everything to fit, which is part of the fun of what we do. But when you go online and you say, I don't know why you'd ever spend the money on an old small block Chevy where you can get a crate motor with aluminum heads on it. It isn't that simple. It is just not that simple. Plus, when you do this, you're not a tuner. You're a programmer. This is programming. This is computer system running everything. This is tuning. This is seat of your pants, a little twist here, a little time in there, a little fuel mixture here. This is tuning. This is the fun stuff. Using your laptop and punching it in. Now, I will say it. Some of the most amazing videos I've seen was a first startup on an engine, like with fuel injection. It was killer. You know, if you're old school and you start one up, you're taking that first 5-10 minutes and you're playing timing, you're playing carburetor, getting things running. You got to, let it rev up and you got to set everything. It takes 10 minutes to get everything set where you're watching everything, make sure it doesn't get hot, break in that cam, the whole 9 yards. I watched the video the other day, primed it, watched it, heard the fuel pump turn on, primed it, turned the key on, let the computer do its thing, hit that key, but just that fast. It's amazing. It can be an amazing thing, but technology costs money. And electrical problem, something, jump the battery, do whatever. There's a lot of stuff in here that's electronically controlled that can go wrong. When you run a mechanical everything, it's pretty simple to fix. It's pretty simple. When you go down here on the side of the road and you get broke down, you're kind of foobarred. This is pretty easy. Most generally, when it's spark, fuel, or air. That's it. Spark, fuel, or fire. So that's just my take on it. Now, I'm probably starting a fight, and that's okay. It's just the blank statement is what got my attention. So 4+ horsepower, and then we're not even considering that extra 800 of extras. So that's just engine. Just get it running. Everything else is all the stuff you have to put on just to get it where it doesn't burn itself down. So if you're still here, like, share, subscribe, smash that like button. Check out my other content. You guys have a great day. It's a great day today. Can mean a better run of motor tomorrow. Y'all be good.